Let's go. We see that hype outside. Right from the house.
Hey guys, Golden here, and welcome to my summary of the Epic Games versus Apple trial day number 3. Today was easily the craziest court day we have ever had in this lawsuit, and the points that were being brought up towards the end of it were some of the best points we have ever heard. And today the Fortnite mobile community was brought up a bunch during this legal battle, and it got insane, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But let's get right on into the news. Alright, so heading right on into the first point of this legal battle. This court trial actually started off with Lori Wright, who is the vice president of Xbox's business development from Microsoft, who was apparently supposed to be a witness for both sides. But as this entire trial day ended up going on, it was kind of clear that she ended up siding with Epic. Now, Lori Wright pretty much was complaining about how Apple did not allow a cloud gaming service to iOS known as xCloud, which would let users play Xbox games on their iOS devices. However, Microsoft was actually required to bring it through a browser, which is not nearly obviously as good performing as an actual app on the App Store. So Microsoft was obviously not happy. Now, Microsoft discussed many things such as how phones are not a competition with Xboxes. Just overall talked about a lot of stuff that honestly just doesn't affect Fortnite mobile play. So I'm not going to get too deep into that, but if you guys do want to know what they talked about, just one thing I do want to know is Wright actually brought up the fact that they lowered Microsoft's store commission from 30% to 12%, which definitely put a lot of pressure on Apple to potentially lower their commission for their App Store, which is obviously what Epic is fighting for. So Microsoft's point was, hey, we lowered our App Store commission, so why don't you guys lower it too? So that way developers obviously have more of a reason to want to go and join the iOS program. Now, Microsoft also brought up the point that apparently Apple told them to just release all of their cloud gaming games as separate apps on the App Store, but obviously that would have been a lot harder for users. And the judge did actually make it clear that she disagreed with the fact that Apple wasn't allowing cloud gaming services and truly did not understand why Apple doesn't allow apps that include other apps onto the App Store. So for example, like a third-party App Store. And basically the judge explained how with Netflix, which is obviously an app on the App Store, you can watch tons of different movies or TV shows, but with gaming, you cannot do a similar model. So Microsoft's point was obviously Apple allows Netflix to do what Netflix does, but doesn't allow Microsoft to do what Netflix does. And Apple was requiring Microsoft to make separate applications for every game, which would overall just be a lot harder because people would have to individually download every single game onto your iOS device. And that's like having to individually download every single movie or TV show onto your device from the App Store. Now, with that point being said, Apple didn't really have a defense for that. Microsoft simply then left the stand, and now here's where Andrew Grant, an engineer at Epic Games who worked on bringing Fortnite to mobile and many other projects, then came to the stand. Now, start off with the judge asking Grant a few questions that honestly don't really matter, but then they got into the Store Kit, which is Apple's in-app purchasing system, and the lawyer asked, why is Store Kit required on iOS? And Grant, as an Epic representative, replied saying there's no technical reason. So Grant's just basically saying here there's no reason for Apple to force people to use their payment processing system. They simply just do it for whatever reason, obviously for security according to them, but according to Grant, there's no reason why they should have to require people to use their direct payment system. Now, Epic then discussed how the mobile version of Fortnite is nowhere near as high quality as console and PC, but still does provide a good experience for its users. And they also explained how Fortnite actually requires about 9 gigabytes for newer devices, since they require obviously like higher graphics. But Epic explained how Fortnite on console apparently takes up 27 gigabytes. So after hearing this, Lori actually asked, was there a reason iOS couldn't create an app that had 27 gigabytes with console graphics? And according to Epic, they actually said that if most iOS devices had more storage, they would actually be able to do that. So yes, guys, if Apple actually produced products with higher end storages on their devices, we could actually have a Fortnite app that would take up 27 gigabytes. I know that sounds bad, trust me, but if you guys think about it, the experience with Fortnite would just be a lot better. Now, after that, the lawyer then asked Epic why they don't just make Fortnite on iOS as a web app, so like an app you could, get on Safari, and Epic simply said that wouldn't be possible. Now, I kind of understand why it wouldn't be possible. I mean, obviously, there's latency, the graphics would probably not be the best, and overall, there's nowhere near as processing power allowed on Safari versus obviously like an actual app. But now we know we will never likely be seeing a web version of Fortnite coming in the future. Now, guys, but this point, one thing I do want to mention, by the way, Epic's witnesses have absolutely dominated this trial so far, and they've honestly done a really good job of explaining everything, because guys, if you guys didn't know, Apple literally hasn't had a single witness yet. Every single witness has been for Epic, because basically Apple doesn't really have friends, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but they don't have any witnesses on the stand as of now, at least. But anyways, heading on into the next point, Epic actually claimed that Apple has never informed Epic that a server-side change, for example, adding the direct payment system into the app, was against their rules. So they didn't know that doing this like little hotfix was actually against Apple's rules, because apparently it was, and I had no idea this was a thing either. But apparently they didn't know about that, and the judges, you know, bashing them for it. But apparently Apple never told them, so they have no way of obviously knowing. Now here's where it started to get juicy. The lawyer then asked, was there any impact on iOS users because of this hotfix? And then according to Epic, they actually explained how users no longer had the current version of Fortnite, and all the users on other platforms had a new version. But after August 13th, since it was no longer available on the App Store, nobody could update to Chapter 2, Season 4, and users on iOS could no longer play with other platforms and friends on other platforms. So all these connections were absolutely destroyed between those friends. So Epic definitely made it sound like it was Apple's fault. You know, they removed it from the App Store, and they would no longer be able to play with their friends on other platforms. So overall, they were just trying to make it clear that, you know, obviously iOS players were stuck on a whole different update, and they couldn't play with all their friends who were on the new update anymore, which obviously, as you guys know, if you guys were iOS players, including myself, it definitely sucked. Now, Epic continued to bash Apple and actually explain how Apple consistently delayed their updates because they were actually required to submit their updates to the App Store every single time and get it approved. And sometimes this approval process could take days, like literal days long. Usually took like a few hours, but sometimes it actually took days long. And obviously, if Epic had their own app store, this wouldn't be a problem. And then they'd obviously just be able to, you know, not have their updates approved. They could do whatever they want, release whatever updates they want without any worry from the App Store approval system. And if you guys were an iOS player, you probably remember the updates constantly getting delayed and people always complaining about it. There's one day where I'm pretty sure it took like an entire day for iOS players to even get the new season update. So it definitely sucked. And overall, it was really bad for mobile content creators, just overall players. So hopefully, if Epic does win, we no longer have to deal with that, because guys, I don't know about you guys, but that was super annoying. Now this next point is probably gonna get a lot of you Fortnite mobile players really mad. So basically, Epic apparently used a lot of memory for Fortnite, so obviously like a lot of processing power, creating a much better experience for Fortnite iOS players. However, Apple then forced Epic to reduce the memory use, creating a worse experience. So perhaps that's probably why, you know, our frames got a little worse randomly during like a random season. I don't know if you guys remember this. The quality got much worse, and a lot of people like lost a lot of quality presets. If you guys didn't remember, like most devices actually had like epic graphics, but all of a sudden it got like lowered to like medium or something, and just overall the memory usage could not be as high. So overall, mobile players did not get the best experience possible. But now guys, here's where it really got juicy. Apple then finally fought back and went into one of their biggest talking points, and their talking point was that Epic has developer agreements just like Apple does with Unreal Engine and within Fortnite, and obviously Epic would never want anyone to break their agreements. So the point that Apple was saying here is they're basically saying, you know, Epic has like a supported creator agreement, they have like competitive agreements. That's like basically being a competitive player and signing this contract that says like, you know, you can't cheat, you can't do any of this stuff, and then going into a match and just everyone's cheating, you know, everyone's using aimbot, everyone's hacking and everything, and overall obviously Epic would not be happy. So Apple's making the, you know, context here that you guys have agreements, and people, if they broke them, obviously you guys would be mad, but we also have agreements and you broke our agreements, so obviously we're mad, which is why we removed your app from the App Store. So Apple's kind of just making a good defense here that obviously there's a good reason why we do not want you guys breaking our terms of service, because they're there for a reason, and we're trying to keep our App Store secure and all that stuff. So that's basically their defense there. And then here's where the Fortnite mobile community finally got into play. Guys, when I heard this, I was really happy. Finally somebody said it. Apple actually then said after the hotfix was put into place, Apple offered Epic a chance to be put back onto the App Store with Fortnite back on the App Store by simply going into compliance with Apple's rules. But you denied this, correct? And Epic said, I believe so. I don't know about you guys, but when I heard this, I felt a huge sigh of release. I was like, oh my God. Finally, somebody said it. Epic literally denied a chance to bring their game back to the App Store, and yet they continue to complain that their app's off the App Store. They're like, oh, Apple, you're the reason this happened. Yet they literally had an easy chance to bring it back, and they denied it for no good reason. Now, guys, the last point I want to talk about absolutely ended Epic's career. This was the final point of the trial. Nobody said anything after this was said. I mean, guys, it was just over. Epic's career was ended after this. Not actually, I mean, obviously they're still in the legal battle and stuff, but I'm just saying this was a really good point by Apple. So basically, a few years back, if you guys didn't know, PlayStation players could not play with other players, and Sony was preventing PlayStation players from playing with other platforms. You only could play with PlayStation players. And back then, Tim Sweeney actually emailed Sony and said many players are kids, and friendships are being torn because of Sony's inability to comply. And Apple decided to use Tim Sweeney's quote against him and said, meanwhile, they denied the offer to bring Fortnite back to the App Store. Wow, good job, Apple. I cannot lie, guys. The fact that they used a quote from Tim Sweeney himself and use it to make him look like a huge hypocrite is just a really good play by Apple. I know, as much as I do want Epic to win this because I want Fortnite mode back and I want 100% chance of the game returning, at the same time, you guys can't lie. This was an amazing point by Apple. Good job, Apple, again. And I mean, guys, they literally just destroyed Epic with this one little sentence. But anyways, guys, that concludes day 3 of the trial. Today started as one of the most boring trial days, but oh my god, it really heated up towards the end. And Epic had some amazing points against Apple, but you guys can't lie. That last point Apple brought up made Epic look like massive hypocrites. But guys, tomorrow we will finally hear from our first Apple representative on the stand. It's going to be a crazy one. So make sure you guys will go tune in tomorrow at around 9:30 p.m. EST, because I'll be summarizing everything for tomorrow as well. This trial is only heating up, but this has been everything you guys need to know about the Epic Games versus Apple trial, day number 3, 6 hours summarized in a 10-minute video.